surprise that made her say hastily, merely for the sake of saying something,
"You must be tired. Rest a little and let me row. It will do me good, for since you came I have been altogether lazy and luxurious."
I'm not tired, but you may take an oar if you like. There's room enough, though I have to sit nearly in the middle, else the boat won't trim,"
returned Laurie, as he rather liked the arrangement. Feeling that she had not mended matters much, Amy took the offered third of a seat, shook her hair over her face, and accepted an oar. She rowed as well as she did many other things, and though she used both hands and Laurie but one, the oars kept time, and the boat went smoothly through the water.
"How well we pull together, don't we?"
said Amy, who objected to silence just then.
"So well that I wish we might always pull in the same boat. Will you, Amy?"
Very tenderly.
"Yes, Laurie."
Very low. Then they both stopped rowing, and unconsciously added a pretty little tableau of human love and happiness to the dissolving views reflected in the lake. End of chapter 41.
Listening to AM 1260 KDUZ and FM 96.5 K243CQ Hutchinson.
You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love. You never take advice. Someday you'll pay the price. I know. I've seen it before. It happens all the time. You're closing the door. You leave the world behind. You're digging for gold. You're throwing away a fortune and feelings, but someday you'll pay. You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love. You want paradise, but someday you'll pay the price. I know. I've seen it before. It happens all the time. You're closing the door. You leave the world behind. You're digging for gold.
After, it's nice to see your smiling face in that office, and you're going to be missed.
Thank you.
Sherry, I'm serious. We're all 34 years with Mike?
Oh,
Were they?
Oh, boy.
That's really,
He was assistant
Great.
at first.
Although I didn't hire her, Pete
No.
Gassel hired her. So I don't have to take the blame for that.
no, obviously I've worked with you in other roles and it's been, you're very helpful in how you keep every cop in McLeod County on task and organized and is amazing. And for what you've done for me and Hutchinson, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And this is an award signed by all of the commissioners for your service. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And if I can say, she wasn't just a legal secretary or a paralegal. she was really what kept our office on task and kept me on task, and I owe her a gratitude of thanks. We have numerous trials that I wouldn't have gotten through without her. So, thank you, Sherry.
Okay, consideration of agenda items. Is there any additions or corrections?
No, Mr. Chair.
Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Darrell Luthens. Is all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Consent agenda. Is there any additions or corrections to the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? I'll second it. Motion made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Chair Kruger. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. COVID-19. Barrett.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So as of yesterday morning, January 18th, we had 3,247 residents that tested positive for COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic. This is an increase of 124 cases over the last 2 weeks. So they are still increasing, but at a very much slower rate than we've seen in the past few months. We've had a total of 45 COVID-19 related deaths since the start of the pandemic as well. Schools are opening today, a number of them. Most of the elementaries are going to full in-person. A number of the middle and high schools are going to be in a hybrid model, so we're excited for that. Due to the holiday yesterday, I don't have other COVID-19 statistics to share with you, but I encourage you to go to our McLeod County website and click on the COVID-19 dashboard. That should be updated later today with more up-to-date numbers. I do want to talk about local public health's main priority over the last few months, which has obviously been the vaccination planning and distribution of the, we have received the Moderna vaccine. We have held 2 vaccination clinics for the Phase 1 Priority 1A, which, to remind you, is our emergency medical service personnel. We've also vaccinated a couple COVID-19 testers that work out of the Armory in Hutchinson at that COVID testing site, and then any of our nurses in local public health who have agreed to vaccinate that population. They have also received the vaccine if they so choose. We have 2 more vaccination clinics scheduled yet this week to finish out that group, and at that time we will be completely out of vaccine. And we do not know what our allocation for doses is this week. We have been very fortunate as McLeod County that all of our skilled nursing facilities and assisted living facilities have been connected to a distributing pharmacy through the Pharmacy Partnership Program, or it's often referred to in the media as the PPP. So local public health has not had to vaccinate anybody in that population, which has been a great help to us. We see other counties, Meeker, I know that they've had to do 3 or 4 assisted living communities, which takes a lot of their time and a lot of planning as well. The governor announced last Thursday, the 14th of January, that he wants us to move past the Priority 1A and focus on the new priority groups of 65 plus, K through 12, education, and child care providers. He wants all available vaccine in arms by 7 days of receiving the shipment of vaccination. This move is obviously because of public demand and then to vaccinate for impact. We have a lot of people that are 65 plus in our state of Minnesota. While we understand the shift in the plan, it has only made our work more difficult the last couple of days. We are inundated with calls from residents who heard that message and want to call and say, how do I get my vaccine? And we have to say, we don't have vaccine. We're not set up quite yet for that. We're not even sure if we're the ones that are going to be giving the vaccination. It might be your local health provider. We are busy. We're working on to finish up the Phase 1 Priority A first round, like I said, this week. We're scheduling the second doses for those people. So all those people that we vaccinated, they still need a second dose in order for the vaccine to be at its most effective. We are making plans to vaccinate the new priority of the 65 plus, K-12, and child care providers without knowing what kind of numbers of vaccination we're going to be getting, so that's difficult. And we're regularly meeting with our healthcare system providers, such as Glencoe Regional and Hutchinson Health, who have been excellent partners in this and have agreed that whatever we need to do to work together to get the vaccine out, we will do. So here's what I need you to know. We are not sitting on any vaccine. If you hear that in the media, that is not true for McLeod County. We're getting it out as fast as we can. Our weekly vaccination allocations are not enough to do the job that we've been asked. We want to get everyone vaccinated as soon as possible. And my team that is working on this is exceptional, and I have every faith that we will carry out this plan as soon as we can. So here's my ask of you. I ask that you please do not call local public health or your healthcare provider to schedule your vaccination. That's just overwhelming our phone lines. We don't have that information. We will get it out to you as soon as possible. I encourage you to follow us on Facebook, watch for our press releases, our media posts. As soon as we know something, we'll get that information out. And be patient. We're working as fast as we can, but this information is literally changing by the hour. Questions?
I have none, Barrett. But you answered the questions I did have and referenced calls that I've been getting. And we've talked offline, and I don't know how to make it any smoother. But
Yeah.
Board, any cheers for Barrett or questions for Barrett?
Done here. Thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm Kevin Matthews. I'm the Emergency Management Director for McLeod County. Just wanted to touch a couple things as far as the COVID response and everything that's going on with emergency management. Of course, we're staying in contact with our local and regional and state partners as we progress through this. So we're meeting as emergency management directors on a regular basis to gather the information that's happening across the state so we can bring that knowledge and information back. Of course, with public health and health and human services, our main focus is on vaccination planning. Not only are we just working on the current vaccine process that Barrett alluded to with the Phase 1A priorities 1, 2, and 3, we're also looking in the future. So if we have to vaccinate mass amounts of people, if and when we get to that vaccination, we can actually hit the ground running and be ready to go. So we're looking at the logistics as far as what location do we want to use. We don't know how that's going to look yet, but we're planning for almost any kind of possibility at this point. So maybe we're going to be gathering in 1 or 2 locations across the county and having everybody there. Maybe we're going to be doing through the clinics and more individualized. So there's a lot of things up in the air, but emergency management, we're trying to look at all the different kind of contingencies and take the necessary planning to make sure that we're on board with that. Last year, our state emergency management office gave us emergency management performance grant that is specific to COVID response. So we had just under $13,000. It's like $12,000 and $900 and some change there. So we have that. That's going to be coming equipment that's going to be used for COVID-related expenses. There are some eligible equipment as far as PPE that we could use and different planning and stuff like that. So we'll make sure that we spend that before that grant expires here in about another year. There are some gaps that we identified throughout this process and we've been keeping track of, and so we're going to use this money to kind of fill in those gaps that we've identified. So again, just to kind of reiterate kind of what Barrett said too, you know, she said that don't call until that vaccine becomes available. I would also like to echo those comments. We were on a call with our regional, or I should say our county partners last week with our hospitals, healthcare facilities, and those type of facilities, and they said they got overwhelmed by the information that's, the calls that are coming into there. So please do not call. We want to make sure that we do have a process in place, public health, emergency management, the Health and Human Services. They have a COVID team that is working on this, and we're working very closely together, and we'll make sure we get that out quickly and efficiently as we can. So.
Questions for Kevin? Hearing none, thank you, Kevin.
Okay, thank you.
Sheila.
Good morning, Sheila Murphy, County Administrator. I just want to take a moment to thank Barrett and Kevin for all their team's hard work. As Barrett said, the overwhelming response for people to want information for a vaccine is human nature. However, we have to remember that they are still amidst working with all the people in our county in our communities who have COVID-19 or they need the services of our Health and Human Services Department. So thank you to them for their update. Just a reminder about our media releases. All of our media releases go to the newspapers in our county. So that's the McLeod County Chronicle, the Hutchinson Leader, and the Herald Journal, and all of the radio stations. I'm not going to name them off because I will mess that up. However, we do not control what the media releases. We are going to continue providing them the information, and they have done a very good job of pushing out that information that we provide them. Facebook, of course, is a great place because it's instantaneous, but those media outlets usually share that information on their Facebook pages as well. It's just become a go-to. It's unfortunate that we have to expect everyone to utilize technology, but at this point we really do, so that they can get up-to-date information. So please continue to utilize our media release information, our Facebook page, especially Barrett's Facebook page for Health and Human Services, and you should have the most up-to-date information. As far as the county goes for a COVID-19 update, we'll talk about that under the administration portion of the agenda with the funding. The data center move was final phase yesterday, so for the government center, the recorder's office and license center will be open for all services tomorrow. However, remembering that we're in a pandemic, I think it's probably people's nature to get in their car and drive over there and get what they need, but we need them to make an appointment. We're continuing to do that. We wish that we could hold the doors open and welcome everybody inside and have everyone walk through and see what's going on. However, we cannot accommodate that with space and safety. So please continue to use our appointment systems. Any questions?
I have none.
Okay.
Ward?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Barrett, you have a request from Health and Human Services.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
I have 4 items for you today. Item A, consider approval of the purchase of service agreement with Hutchinson Health to provide mental health hold order services for the period of January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021 at a daily rate of $1,610 per client, with funds from the Individual and Family Services, Social Services Budget 11-430.
Any questions for Barrett from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, a question I had is, is this an increase from last year's contract on the dollar amounts?
It's a slight increase. I don't have that number offhand, but my supervisor said it's nothing out of the range or ask that other counties experience for this type of service.
And a follow-up question, what would be your guess as how often do we use this service and what's our history?
That's a good question. I had suspected someone might ask, so I prepared that. I talked to my supervisor that works with this area, and that's Leah Lundgren. She's been with us for over 20 years. She said we maybe average 1 stay per month, which can average for 3 to 6 days. So the important thing to remember about this is that it only pays if they don't have insurance. So if the client or the patient has insurance, that would pay first. We would pay if they didn't.
Any other questions for Barrett?
Barrett, these are only police officer holds and court orders, correct?
Law enforcement, mental health providers, ER doctor.
So if a person voluntarily were to go in there, they would be responsible for their own?
Correct.
But law enforcement has the right to put somebody on a hold for up to 48 hours if they believe that they're mentally ill or chemically dependent, a danger to themselves or others, and in need of further treatment to protect safety.
Who are the other two people? Law enforcement?
ER doctors.
Mental health providers, and then ER doctors.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Barrett? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the purchase of the service agreement with Hutchison Health to provide mental health and hold order services for the period of January 1, 2021 through December 31, 2021 at a daily rate of $1,610. Funds from the individual and family service, social service budget 11,430.
Move to approve.
And a second.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel and seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Barrett, can I ask one more question? And you may not have the answer for it today, and that is fine, but, and I just happen to have a working knowledge of this. So often there's not room in Hutchinson for this service. And the transfer happens. So how does those funds get distributed? And I don't need an answer today, but just at some point, how does that billing service work, and how does that look when the patient unfortunately gets shipped to Fargo or Sioux Falls or things like that? So that question's been posed to me in a much more eloquent way than I'm posing it to you, but you kind of get where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I don't need an answer today unless you have it.
I don't, unless Coney, okay.
It was actually quite remarkable when they asked me that. I said, I'm assuming the hospital that provides the service gets the money, but, we never approve a service contract with Fargo, and we shouldn't, but I just was curious how that all worked.
Yep,
So,
I can do some research and get back to you. Great question.
thank you.
Just to follow up, Barrett, is that usually police that do the transfer? Or is it a ambulance or?
Yeah.
It is, so it can get quite spendy. Good question. All right, you have another.
Yes, thank you. Item B, consider approval of the purchase of service agreement with Hutchinson Health to provide outpatient mental health services for the period of January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021 with funds from the individual and family social services budget 11-430. So Hutchinson Health will provide the following mental health outpatient services, so testing and evaluation for chemical dependency, mental retardation, mental illness, group and individual therapy, services to clients after hospitalizations, medication review, medication management, and maintenance of effective communication with the client's physician. Again, this is for clients who aren't covered by insurance. We rarely get a bill for this, as it is based on a sliding fee scale. So based on their income, if they're able to pay a little bit, Hutchinson Health would accept that.
All right, any questions for Barrett on this request with Hutchinson Health? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion to approve the contract for the fiscal year of 2021.
So move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Commissioner Smalls. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, consider approval of the intent for membership with Pact for Families Collaborative for the period of January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021 for a total cost of $54,976.50, with funds from the Individual and Family Social Services and the county public health nursing budgets, which would be split evenly, 11-430 and 01-485. This number was calculated based on using our countywide census. So they calculated it at $1.50 per capita.
Questions for Barrett on PAC for Families? I do actually have a question, I'm a little bit familiar with PAC because I was on it in my early years, but how is that money generated from PAC for Family? I mean, where does the money actually come from?
So PAC for Families, they're a collaborative with the counties of Candy, Ojai, McLeod, Meeker, Renville, Yellow Medicine, and it's a joint powers agreement. So then they use that money to fund the staff. They apply for grants that we can use. They purchase and train on certain programs that we can use in both our social services, corrections, and local public health areas.
I probably should have been a little more specific, but this particular money, does it come from a grant? That's actually what my question was. I mean, they don't earmark a grant when they give this money out? Okay.
No.
And we have people on PAC for Families, so I guess you know, it'd be good to stay a little bit better. I don't think we've been utilizing some of our joint powers the way we should have, or at least even understand them, so.
Yeah, I did talk with staff just to make sure that this is something that we want to continue to be a part of and want to utilize. I didn't want to just ask for the money if it's something we don't really want, and they were wholeheartedly in agreement. They find a lot of benefit, collaboration, the programs and resources a lot of our clients in the county are able to use, so it's a well-used program.
Any more questions for Barrett? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the membership with PAC for Family for the fiscal year of 2021. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Kruger made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Nagel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. My last item, item D, consider approval of the contract for services with Painted Horse Ranch, LLC, for the period of January 1, 2021 to December 31st, 2021, to provide supervised visitation at a rate of $45 per hour. The supervised visitation, travel, and any court appearance, court testimony will be billed at a rate of $45 per hour.
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve the contract with Painted Horse Ranch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schmalz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barrett. Barrett, before you leave, I guess I'm not personally familiar with these horse therapy, but I have good friends that do it, and through the veterans, and they claim it's just unbelievable the stress it takes off doing some of this therapy. Again, it's just a comment, but
thank you.
For anybody that wonders why we do it, and I questioned them in the past, and between that and service dogs and whatever they say, it's some of the most helpful therapy that they have. So, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Connie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Connie Kurtzbig, Auditor Treasurer. Today I'm here to conduct some County Ditch 63 business. The first item A is to consider the approval of June 15th, 2020 Drainage Authority minutes from the County Ditch 63 public hearing.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Commissioner Nagel to approve the Drainage Authority hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item B, consider the petition for outlet on County Ditch 63 from MRRR LLC. I received on December 10th via email from Rinke Noonan Law Firm and pursuant to Minnesota Statute 103E.401, notification of and petition by MRRR LLC, who seeks authority to use McLeod County Ditch 63 as an outlet for drainage.
Mike, within that motion, do we need to approve those minutes from the minute that asked for this?
Well,
I just have it, I have it in my agenda here, and I'm just not sure. I don't want to skip over it.
You already approved the minutes, didn't you?
You
Yes.
did approve of the minutes. Now we're on item B, so you just
All
consider
right.
the petition. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So is there a motion to consider the outlet for CD 63?
Mr. Chair, I just want to make clarification on the language. So, Mike, if you could help me out a little bit. This motion is just to accept the fact that a petition has been filed. We still have to go through the public hearing process in order to accommodate the request within the petition, though, correct?
That's correct. And then there will be a public hearing, so notice what will be given to everybody on the ditch system. At the public hearing, which is your next item, you will be asked to determine whether or not there is sufficient capacity in the ditch to allow this land to be drained into that ditch. And if so, then you will set the benefits and you will set the outlet fee for this parcel to go into that system. This is a reminder, this matter was recently subject to a redetermination of benefits. And it's very possible that, and this will come out at the hearing, but it's very possible that this land was draining into this system the entire time, but the viewers didn't observe that when they did the redetermination of benefits. So there isn't any way to go back and change the redetermination of benefits. The only way to get the land in or to get the land out is to file a petition. So that's what this is. And Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Kruger and I met with the landowner and informed him this is the way you got to go, and then recommended that they get an attorney, and that's what they have done.
Any other questions for Connie or Mike?
One more. Is there is it stated anywhere how many days we have to have a public hearing after the acceptance of the petition?
I don't have the statute right in front of me. I don't believe that there's a minimum amount of time. It's not like the automatic approval in the 60-day rule.
Yep. Okay.
But we ought to do it promptly, and we better do it in the wintertime when most of the people that are farming aren't quite as busy as they are in the growing season.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Young, I did note from a previous procedure that at the second hearing, they did consider the capacity, and then they hired a viewer to determine the benefits and damages.
That's one of the options as well.
Okay.
Either you can set it, or else you could appoint 3 viewers or one of the 3 that were previously on the redetermination of benefits.
Right now, all we're doing is just considering the petition. Is that correct?
You're acknowledging that you've received the petition.
Okay. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Commissioner Nagel. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and then item C, consider setting CD 63 public hearing for February 16th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North in Glencoe.
Speaks for itself. A motion to approve the hearing on February 16th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright.
I can second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Nagel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Public Works, John.
Good morning.
Good morning, John.
Item A, we'd like you to consider software as a service and a professional service agreement with Perfect Mind. They're out of Burnaby, British Columbia. Initial cost of this is $12,000 plus applicable tax, and then their annual cost thereafter for $6,000. And what this is a replacement reservation system for our parks and fairgrounds. The current system they utilize is Max Galaxy, and that's the system where people go online to reserve shelters, reserve buildings at the fairgrounds, and so forth. So that company has decided to fold up, and their last service will be this October. So we've been looking for replacement software, different programs, and Perfect Mind is what we've kind of settled on for a software for that.
John, hopefully it's not an issue, but like last year, we had to do a ton of refunds, right? I mean, because of the COVID piece.
Yeah. So
did you look into that and how that works with this?
Yeah, the implementation of this will be a month or two, so we're hoping we can get through the parks with the Max Galaxy and then switch over kind of mid-season, if you will, to join in for other stuff. But there will be a little transition. Hopefully it won't be to the degree of refunds we had before. Yeah.
Okay. Again, that terms is, it's a 5-year agreement, is that correct?
5-year agreement, then it renews annually thereafter at the existing term. So, assuming we like the program and everything, and all the indications are that we will. Wright County was in the same boat as us with Max Galaxy, and they recently implemented Perfect Mind, or in the process of implementing this program, and then there's a number of other entities around the country, for that matter, that use it. So hopefully it'll work good.
And I remember it from Parks, and it worked well. I mean, it was new when we did it with Parks, and it worked better than we expected, at least in the client's view. Now, how does this coordinate with the fair? I mean, I know
Or the fairgrounds, rather, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
Parks
my
and-
question too.
Yeah, same system for parks and fairgrounds. We'll utilize this.
But what would be I'm a little bit green there. What would be some of the reasons to use it for the fairgrounds?
Well, if someone wants to rent the egg building out, someone wants to rent the pavilion, the 4-H diner, the grandstand, all of the reservations currently go through Max Galaxy.
Okay.
And they just continue on, except it would be through Perfect Mind.
And there's a calendar in there
They can see what's open. So everything appears to be a better platform than kind of what we've had now for user functionality and user friendliness and ability to utilize it. So I think it'll be a good move, and that's kind of why everybody settled on this program.
Any more questions for John?
Move to approve.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel to approve the software service agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. All in favor? Motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And item B is to consider authorizing Public Works to solicit quotes for the moving and/or demolition and removal and backfilling of the Kitty Castle Animal Shelter that was at the McLeod County Fairgrounds right now. As you know, the Heart of Minnesota Animal Shelter, the cats have been relocated to another facility, and kind of along with long-range plans of the fairgrounds, and the future of that building is likely that spot is for something else to be determined down the road, and it just makes sense, I think, to move it or demolish it. We have had a couple local movers, or a couple movers, I should say, that work with the county interested in it, so potentially moving the building first and then demoing the basement and everything that's left. But this was recently discussed at the Fair Commission as well, and that was a consensus out of there too. They recommended that we move forward and demo the house, and we've had an open winter, so potentially we could get that done here, certainly by spring.
I would agree with that as well, but there is no liability, Mike. I mean, being it was, a person that has no idea what's in there for, being there was animals in it, there's no, the mover has all the liability to anything that's in it?
It's going as is, and they're all going to know that, yeah.
Very good. Any more questions? If not, I'm look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second? I'll second it. Is there any more discussion?
Just to add, we did talk about this, like John had mentioned, quite a bit at Fair Commission, and if there's a chance that we can utilize the frozen ground open winter and avoid having to make a muddy mess in the spring, the faster that happens, the better. So we want to get this out there so we can see what interest there is on removal and getting the site cleared up.
And the myth, the animals being in it, it's a bit of a myth. Paul and I have been in it. It's much cleaner than anyone would imagine.
Okay.
So.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Matt, IT. Morning, Matt.
Morning, Matt Troska, IT Manager. Here to request consider approval of state contract quote from Provision Media of St. Paul, Minnesota for components to enable wireless presenting in the meeting rooms at the Government Center for a cost of $39,541.01 with funds from the Government Center capital account budget. The wireless presenting components allow someone to present on screen in the meeting rooms from any device in the room they are in. This was planned and budgeted for as part of the Government Center project. Quotes received were from Provision Media for $38,041.01 plus installation of $1,500. Tierney Brothers for $38,623.96 plus installation. Z Systems for $41,510.40 plus installation. And iSpace for $50,665.32 plus installation.
Any questions for Matt? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the state contract quote with Provision Media of St. Paul, the components to enable wireless presenting in the meeting rooms at the Government Center for a cost of $39,541.01. These funds come from the Government Center capital account. Is there a motion to approve? I'll move the motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Kruger, seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Employee Relations, Hannah.
Good morning. Employee Relations Director, Hannah Choflat. Just have one item today. Consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation to approve the Parks and Recreation Manager job description graded at a 190 in the Public Works Department. This position has been approved by the Personnel Committee and reviewed by the Evaluation Committee. This position is a part of the Public Works reorganization that the board approved on December 29th, 2020.
Mr. Chair, for me.
Go ahead.
This is, again, to repeat, it's part of the overall plan, the reorganization of the parks and fairgrounds. And John, please feel free to step in if I screw any of this up. But we've approved the overall plan, but this is kind of, I don't know, step 2, because we approved the overall plan with this. And this would be the manager position. And I'm excited. I think we're excited as we move forward. And obviously, Mr. Coggin's retirement allowed this. I mean, we could have done it without it, but it just organically allowed this to happen. And I hope the search process will give us a candidate that can help bring the facility and organization to the next level. So I would move to approve.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Is there any more discussion? I would just echo what Joe said. I'm not going to repeat it, but it has been, we've talked about reorganization for a long time, efficiencies, and obviously the door open to do that. So I'm excited about it myself. With that, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
County administration, God, I've been waiting a long time to say, review the commissioners' calendars. We'll start with Daryl, or Commissioner, no, I lost my train of thought. Luthens.
Thank you.
Took me a minute, but I got it.
I was able to attend one meeting on the 13th on Wednesday. I did a Zoom meeting on the PAC. Took all day. They had 3 different sets of meetings. I learned a little bit, quite a bit in fact. So that was the only thing I had on my calendar.
Commissioner Wright.
Okay, I think did miss one thing, Mr. Luthens, that we all attended the flag raising on the 8th. So that was attended by the full board. After that, we had a MRF meeting dealing with expenses and revenues projected for the year. On the 11th, kind of our subcommittee of our CRF group met to put together some plans for what was later on the 13th, where our full committee met and will be approving that package today, as we have received state funding relative to the past executive order. And on the 13th, JD 15, this is a ditch system, mostly in Renville and Sibley County. However, when they did a redetermination of benefits, just a handful of acres crept into McLeod County, and so we're now included within that system, and I'll be representing the county on that ditch authority. That's it for my calendar.
Thank you. My calendar, on the 4th, I had MRC board meeting. Again, dialing down on legislative priorities for this coming year. Border to border, I still lost the word, IT connections are actually on top of the list. Then we had the workshop with CRF on the 5th, and we also met with the MRF committee on the 8th with some recycling questions. On the 11th, I had SWCD meeting, and the joint Ditch 15 board meeting on the 13th. I had the drainage work group on the 14th, which was quite a lengthy meeting on new laws and different things coming up in drainage, on land storage, and funding for that, whether it's through clean water or some kind of bonding, is on top of the list. It's one of those compromise with ag, with drainage, to try and incorporate on land storage with the drainage to avoid flooding and contamination. And I just wanted to comment on the flag raising, our dedication. I just got to put out a big thank you to Jim Lauer and to Lauren Miller, who's Jim Lauer's our veteran service officer. He did carried the ball on coordinating that, along with Scott Grivna, our maintenance person, and Lauren is he worked with our local VFW and Legion to coordinate with the rest of the county, and I was just ecstatically proud to see that number of people together. I've been active in veterans organizations for 40 years actually, and that was really a highlight for me to see all the veterans groups in one place, dedicating the flag for our new government center. Thanks. That brings me to today. Joe.
I had a NACO public safety phone call that I participated in, the flag raising, and Doug, you did an excellent job organizing that. You're not giving yourself enough credit for that, and it was very well done. And the only other thing I'll add that hasn't been mentioned is the SWSC, trying to get the acronyms right. The SW, right, Sheila? SWSC.
SWWC.
Yeah, there you go. Our new insurance provider, the board that I've been put on, I had an orientation on Friday. It was a few hours long. It is more than just insurance, like we were talked about, and probably, at least as of today, a little over my head. But I think it's going to be good for the county. It's insurance for us, but there's also some other purchasing things that maybe we can take advantage of in the future. Deals a lot with school districts. That's probably where I'm a little lost right now. But I'll get it, and we'll work through it. And I think it's still the right fit for us to be there, have a seat at the table, because it's going to be important. But it is a pretty steep learning curve right now, but I'll try to keep the board updated, whether it be here or at a workshop, as we go through it. So that brings me to today.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
And then for my report, as my fellow commissioners, I attended the flag dedication at the new government center on the 8th of January. I also did my internet security training, the No Before, that afternoon on the 8th. January 13th, I attended the JD 15 meeting via Zoom, and I'm happy to see that, getting up and running with Renville, Sibley, and McLeod County. 14th, attended a Zoom meeting with CHS, and I was pleased to witness the interaction that we have between the counties of Meeker, Sibley, and McLeod. I found it very informative, and that brings me up to today.
Thank you. Any additions, Sheila?
I have nothing to add, Mr. Chair. Thank you. All right.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Item A, consider approval of the Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee recommended McLeod County let me redo this. Item A, consider approval of the Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee recommendation to the McLeod County Coronavirus Relief Fund program outline and timeline. The Coronavirus Relief Fund CRF Committee is recommending the following program outline. The committee would accept and evaluate applications from eligible business and nonprofit entities and recommend approval to the McLeod County Board of Commissioners for final approval. Eligible businesses and nonprofit entities would include businesses of fewer than 35 employees or full-time employee equivalent. That's very important to note because there are many businesses that could have 70 employees that work part-time that equal that full-time equivalent of 35 full-time employees. Those that have been impacted by Minnesota's Emergency Executive Order 20-99. Applications will be electronic only and only available for completion on the McLeod County website and only accepted electronically. Application period will be open between January 21 and February 1, 2021. Paper applications and documentation will not be accepted. All of the information for this program would be released on our McLeod County website on January 21, 2021. The committee is recommending the following program timeline. January 19th, today, approval of program outline and timeline by county board. January 21 through February 1, 2021, open application period. February 2 through February 10, 2021, CRF committee review period. February 16, 2021, approval of applicants by county board through the recommendation from the CRF committee. March 15, 2021, state deadline for all fund recipients to be identified, meaning that you have to allocate all of the dollars that were given to McLeod County by that date. And April 1, 2021 is the state deadline for all funds to be dispersed to identified recipients, meaning you cannot make any payments from those funds after April 1. All of the details for this program will be listed within the application process on the McLeod County website. It is very important that any business or nonprofit entity that is wondering if they are eligible for these funds or has questions to go through that process, because it will be yes or no questions that help them self-identify whether or not that their entity qualifies for these fund dollars. McLeod County has been allocated a bucket of funds, right? Around $700,000. I don't have the amount in front of me, I apologize. Instead of what we did with the previous funds from the CARES Act, where you would apply for a specific amount, we are going to have all eligible applicants self-identify, go to the website, and apply for these dollars. And then once all applications have been received and reviewed, there would be an allocation to each of those applicants. The state has put a very big emphasis on the fact that it's not give out an equal amount to each entity. It's a needs-based program. These dollars are meant to be needs-based to cover the unmet needs of the businesses and nonprofits that are eligible in only McLeod County. The counties can only distribute funds within their counties, where last time there was not that rule with the CARES Act. So there are some pieces of this program through the state that are very much more flexible, some that are not. Commissioner Wright, do you have anything you want to add that I missed?
Yeah, I think here we go again with kind of a new role that counties have taken on. And the first time around it was with the federal stimulus dollars, and our committee did an absolutely stellar job of divvying those monies out to county entities that were in need. This one is slightly different. It is strictly from the state. And some key takeaways on this one is that this would be only effective for those that had a negative impact from Executive Order 20-99. It's narrowed down to that. You'll also notice a very tight application window here. As the administrator stated in the beginning of the meeting, what does a press release look like? We're going to send it out through social media, radio, and newspapers. And from there, we really can't control it, but we're doing everything that we can. When our past, when the other CARES program ended, unfortunately, there were still some calls that people had no idea that it was there. And we really need to reach everybody possible that they get their applications in. Again, this is a tight application window. So anything that can be done with our newspapers and press to help us out, access and get this news out to people would be much appreciated. It's because when the committee sits down and looks at the applications, and we decide how those dollars will be distributed to the applicants. When the door closes, that's the end of it. And so we definitely want to make sure that we have everybody in McLeod County that was affected in terms of their businesses by 20-99, zeroing in a lot on the restaurants, bars, athletic clubs. The list is within the executive order, but we need to reach them and we need their applications.
Thank you. And to further that they were affected by the shutdown orders listed in Executive Order 20-99 very specifically.
Yep.
I think we can all find how we've been affected by each of the executive orders, but we're really focusing in on those shutdown orders within that. A lot of the businesses in our communities, people may go, oh, well, they got the money from the state bucket number one because they're a restaurant, or, there are more identifying factors than that. It's not just what type of businesses it is, it's how many employees they had, percentage of loss. There will be financial statement requirements within this one. We did not have that in the last. It was different. It was receipts. And so if you know of a business or entity that would possibly qualify for this, please encourage them to go on January 21st to our website to check that out. Not everyone knows how to use websites well or to fill out applications well, and we understand that. However, to meet the time requirements for this program, we are going to have to ask that people go out and find some help to do that. There are people everywhere that are willing to help you out if you need that. We cannot take paper documentation this time because it did cause many issues with our last round of funding. We don't have the resources, and there was not a large allocation of these funds to administrative expense.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mike.
If anybody wants to see a copy of that executive order, go to the Minnesota governor's website, punch on emergency order, and then go to 099. That will get you to that order.
Thank you. There will also be a link to it in the application too, if you don't get to do that first. Thank you. So asking for approval.
Okay, just this little comment. You're going to hear that 20-99 ad nauseum, but that's the guidelines we have to follow. And I'm getting a number of calls on what's available. They're good calls. I mean, people are wanting to find out about this, but we have to follow the guidelines given to us. So it's a limited amount of money compared to the first one, but in the $70,000 versus what the county got from the federal government, but am I
Mr.
correct?
Chair, so we do have every county had the flexibility to create their own program based on all of the executive orders that had to apply, but we decided to hone in on 20-99. And it's much more specific of how we use these funds, so it's our last bucket, I don't remember, but maybe you do, of the amount, I believe at first we allocated $1.2 million to the
Boy, yeah, it was something like that. We had 1.2 to 1.5, and then we were able to add to that, but we started with a program where we went up to 50% of the application and filled from there. And luckily, we were up to the 97, 98%, I think it was, of the application max per applicants, but this one will be different in that aspect.
But all of this money will be allocated to the businesses and nonprofits, where that money had to be split into different buckets and also cover county expense. The only county expense that will be taken from this bucket of money is for administrative costs.
Any more questions for Sheila? Not looking for a motion to approve the Corona Relief Fund Committee recommendation for the Corona Relief Fund Program outlined and the timeline.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Motion made by Darrell, second. Looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smalls. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item B, I may need your help, Mr. Young, a little bit on this, but asking to consider approval of City of Lester Prairie tax increment financing waiver. Board, hopefully you had a chance to check this out in the packet beforehand, but this would be for a city tax increment financing district waiver, not for the county. I believe City of Glencoe for sure already has one. I'm sure that the City of Hutch does. I don't know what other cities do or do not.
This is just a notice requirement, and they contacted Commissioner Schmalz and asked him to give a waiver. Any one of you commissioners do not have the authority to act on behalf of the entire board, but what this is just doing is waiving the time period of that 30-day notice. So it's appropriate that he brought it here, it's appropriate that they ask for it, it's appropriate that you grant it.
And just to add, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but so a tax increment financing in the City of Lester Prairie would really do nothing but benefit the county, correct? Because it would encourage more the eligible people to use the tax increment financing district. It would encourage them to build there or expand.
Well, it's an economic development tool.
Mm-hmm.
There are pluses to it and there are minuses to it. What they're able to do is to capture any increase in the tax revenues for the next 10, 15, 20 years, whatever the term of the TIF is, and dedicate it to the development costs that it took to create whatever it is that generated the additional tax.
For the city, correct?
Yeah.
Not for the county dollars.
Right. So what that does, I mean, it adversely affects the school district and the county in the future, in that we don't share in that increased revenue, but it wouldn't have been there anyway, possibly, but for the TIF. So there are pros and cons to it, but it's a common economic tool. Hutchinson has several of the districts, as do Glencoe and others.
We just did one for Hutchinson within the last 6 months. And let's start the clock. Because how long is it?
Each one is going to be different, but they're typically 10 to 20 years.
Yeah. It's a good good for Lester Prairie. That means they're being progressive.
And I might add that the document was actually mailed to Commissioner Szymanski. Commissioner Szymanski forwarded the document to me last weekend. So we were put on a pretty short timeline to get this up and going, and I appreciate Attorney Young's help in bringing this to our board meeting today.
Any more questions? If not, I'll move to approve.
And I'll second it.
Motion made by Chair Kruger, seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, consider adopting Resolution 21-CB-06, Commissioner Committee Appointments.
I have two questions on that. We've had discussions about changing the Health and Human Services Committee around. Should we approve that as slated today, or should we pull that until we revisit and we know exactly what we're going to do? Barrett, maybe looking at you for advice on that. How would you like to proceed with that?
I don't believe we need to make any changes today since we're maintaining a 5-board member
Just staying
committee.
there for now. Okay.
Correct? Thank you.
The other comment, Chairman Kruger and I talked yesterday about personnel review, I've got it mixed up. I've got the personnel policy review mixed up with personnel committee. So, never mind. I saw it wrong. Thanks.
Don't feel bad, I did too. It took me
Okay.
a couple times to look at it to make sure it was correct, so.
Mr. Chairman, I also have a question.
Go ahead.
I think when it came to the Pioneer Land, it was kind of a short discussion between you and I as who was leading that. Do we know where that sits at this point in time?
I believe it was decided. I believe that it was decided that you would lead that instead of Mr. Chair.
Okay, just point of
Commissioner
correction.
Schmaltz.
That it's my lead?
And who's,
The alternate would be yourself, Mr. Chair.
I'm looking for it here quick, and for some reason I can't find it.
That is how it's listed unless you are requesting a change.
It is listed.
It is
as-
listed that Commissioner Schmaltz would lead for Pioneer Land and that you would be the alternate.
Very good. No,
Thank you.
I'm
agreeable.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
So asking you to adopt Resolution 21-CB-06, Commissioner Committee Appointments as listed.
Is there a motion to that effect?
One more question, and maybe I missed it, just like I did the last comment I tried to make. Our Economic Development Committee, I don't see that on the list, or is it?
I'll have to go grab my packet.
Okay.
One moment, please.
I know that was brought up. I think, Doug, you brought that up at our last meeting.
Yeah, we talked about adding it.
It just, the membership just needs to be included, that's all, because we already
It does not
adopted.
need to be included because nothing's for reappointment. So the ones that you're seeing are the ones that require reappointment. That does not.
Okay.
It hasn't changed since you voted.
Say that again, please.
There is not a
Same with the CARES Committee, it has been voted on before.
Correct. So the same as the Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee has not changed since you last voted. The Economic Development Committee does not require voting because there is no reappointment. These are the committees that are for reappointment that are listed within the resolution. The full committee listing is what you've viewed previously. This is not that. This is
Okay.
only the changes.
That's maybe just the confusion that we're having, is that this is just the reappointment and not necessarily the complete list that we're adopting. So
Correct. The resolution only includes reappointment.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, changed appointments.
I think I'm finally straightened out now, thanks.
Thank you.
No, it's all right.
So,
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve Resolution 21-CB-06. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schmaltz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you. Item D, consider adopting Resolution 21-CB-07, Staff Committee Appointments.
Any questions on that? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve Resolution 21-CB-07.
I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmaltz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nagel. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item E, consider adopting Resolution 21-CB-05, Citizen Committee Appointments.
Did everyone get a chance to review that? If so, I'd be looking for a motion to approve Resolution 21-CB-05, Citizens Committee Appointments. And I would comment, there are some in there that are up this year, but they're not up as of yet, so.
Correct, so there would be changes once the committee itself as a new citizen to represent them.
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Rea, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Luthens. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item F, notification of ribbon cutting for the McLeod County Government Center at 8:30 a.m. on February 2nd, 2021, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. So obviously that is before our first board meeting there. This is probably the strangest ribbon cutting you've ever been to a brand new building because it's not indoors. So we're hoping for some nice weather like what we had the day of the flag dedication ceremony. However, those attending will not be encouraged to come inside. We will not be giving tours. We just can't at this point, unfortunately. And with that, a note that yes, our first meeting at the Government Center is that day. It's on February 2nd, 2021. And I think all of us envision that day being welcoming everybody to come and make sure that they join us to check the place out. It's a public meeting. We can't prevent anyone from coming. We don't want to if they have a good reason to be there. But please remember that there are people who will need to attend that meeting to present their items. We're going to do our best to space everyone out, but if we run out of space in that room to safely have everyone 6 feet apart, we will have to place people out in the hallway, and they'd only be watching on a pretty small monitor. It's not ideal for the traffic flow, so we want you all there, but really there will be essentially almost a limit to how many can be in the room, and that's unfortunate of where we're at today. But once things are a little brighter, we will have an event at the Government Center to welcome people and show them a little bit more. However, for now, we have a slideshow coming, a virtual, they shot that as part of the project, so there will be pictures available. As soon as we receive the photos and that slideshow, we're going to put it online so that people can take a virtual tour. I hope that covered everything.
Yeah, thank you, Sheila. I too, it's hard with the virus, with the COVID-19 to just keep it safe. I, for one, have to be very careful of the spacing, and I wouldn't expect anybody else not to be concerned about it as well. So with that, that does not take a board action, so.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, one question I had, in case we do get into a situation where we think we need more space, and I don't believe that anything's been moved into the shop area as of yet, correct?
The shop area is still filled with staging for the building, for the move. Yeah, so that is not an option. I'm sorry.
It's not an option at this time?
No, we wouldn't be able to use it for that. I'm sorry. There's quite a bit in there today. And I wouldn't expect that it would be too much different by them, and I'm not sure. We'll check it out, though. I just don't want to promise it and then we can't use it, but we can check that out as an option.
Yeah, absolutely. My thought was just that, compared to what we did at the fairgrounds here, if that's our largest assembly room,
We won't be able to hold the meeting in there with audio and video. That will not be an option. We don't have the system out in the shop area. We have not accommodated that. It is within the building. So that would not work.
I'm hoping that everybody has patience. We do have a lot of room there. In what we have the 3 different rooms. I mean, we can facilitate really well with what we have, but just patience to see our new building. I'm proud of it as well. I wish I could just say, everybody come and look, but
Matt and Liz and myself started setting up that room for that anticipated meeting for the first meeting in February already last week. We're having a test run to make sure that we're prepared, audio, visual, that we can present. That's why we won't be able to bring that back out. It's obviously a difficult thing to hold all these meetings at different locations in the first place, but we're making sure that we are well prepared for that first meeting so that everyone can hear you, that they can see everything, that the online presence is good, that we have all of these new systems working together. We will have all 3 rooms open, so we're going to move back as far as possible. But really, it's about the amount of room that you see here for the spacing out for the chairs. So we're going to do our best.
the monitors will be working.
Yes, they will. All of the monitors, every piece of technology that is within those rooms will be utilized on that day.
I know where I'm sitting, so I'll be fine.
Good, thank you.
Is that going to be available via Zoom?
It will be available online. I don't know which platform, but it will be with HCVN for sure.
Thank you.
And we're still working with them to, we have to get everything set up, so.
Yeah, bear with us,
It'll be announced on the agenda, Mike, where it will be. Okay. Item G, notification of board workshops to be held following the board meeting on February 2nd, 2021 at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue, North Glencoe, Minnesota. And then I was given a note by our county attorney that our new chief deputy, Aaron Ward, may be here in attendance, and I'm just going to bring him in for a moment so that you all can introduce yourselves to him and meet Aaron. Chief Deputy Ward, sorry.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, because I don't want to screw it up. We have met, thank goodness I came out and we talked a little, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Aaron Ward. I've been with the Sheriff's Office since 1998. I started in the jail, worked in the jail about a year before starting in the patrol division. I was patrol sergeant for 16 years before being appointed chief deputy.
And I can kind of tell by your smile, you must be happy that you got the appointment.
Yes, I'm very honored. So.
And he started in the jail as an employee, not as an inmate, so.
Oh, good.
All right, again, welcome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to getting to know you guys.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Could we take a few minutes before we begin the closed meeting?
Let's close, can we close the meeting and then reconvene?
Just open forum. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board? Press relations, Karen, do you have anything? Okay, thank you. Do we want to, can we close the meeting and then take a few minutes while everybody moves, or is that all right? Okay, we have some business that requires a closed meeting, so I guess I would entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to close the meeting, and then I have a 5-minute break before we begin.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Commissioner Nagel to close the meeting, preceding a 5-minute break. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.